I have something for you to watch. And as you're watching it, please stay tuned, because as soon as it's over, I have an invitation for you that I think you're going to find important. So stay on, because we've got something significant for you to see. Stephanie Boosahda is a household name. You've probably heard Stephanie's records, her discs. She's been a part of the 700 Club for a period of time. She has been a part of groups across the country. Mm-hmm. Stephanie, you and I have known each other since you were in high school.
We go way back.
Way back.
I was in junior high, actually.
Oh my gosh, you're making me into an old man. And
old woman.
I have followed your career and your singing career, and I always remember, don't remember who it was, one of the agents saying she has a signature voice.
And you do. Like my mother.
And of course, your mother was one of my dearest friends. Mm-hmm. Stephanie, you had an experience that really is remarkable a couple of years ago. Yeah. Starts with Wayne, your husband, Wayne Boosahda, going into the hospital. Tell me how it all unfolded.
Well, it was amazing. He had some trouble at home. He fell down the stairs one night, and we didn't know what it was. He says, I think it's strep throat. But long story short about Wayne, he went to the doctor, again, the same urgent care, and they said, no, he has double pneumonia, and his heart is starting to fibrillate. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but he had AFib, which I didn't even know what that was. But so he was admitted Saturday, January 27th, 2018, and then the next day, and he was fine. He's turned out fine. He had to recoup for a year. But the next day I went into a grocery store for him on the 28th of January, the very next day, Robert. And as I'm walking out, I went in to get some prescription for my husband. And on my way out, I parked my car first, and then I went in to get the medicine. And then I was just walking out of the front door and took about 2 steps off the curb. And all of a sudden, I heard myself scream. It wasn't, I have a pretty big voice, but it sounded like, not a horse, it kind of in a cave. Mm-hmm. And I could barely hear it, but I knew it was me. And I thought, of course, I don't know what happened, except everything turned white. And I felt cocooned by this whiteness, if you will. And next thing I know, I'm on the pavement. What had happened is a car that was going through, pedestrians, of course, anytime you're in that situation, have the right of way. He had a white car, I had on some white jeans and a white pullover. And I was in Austin, Texas at the time. He lived there. And it was amazing. That kid got out of the car later on and was screaming, oh, are you okay? But because of all the white and the brilliant Austin sun, he couldn't see me. And I knew that. So
now, was this in the wintertime?
No, this was, well, there is no winter in Austin.
Oh.
There is a little bit of a chill, but no, I was dressed really casual, but the next thing I knew
But you did hit the pavement, right?
Oh, it sent me out. It definitely pushed me. And of course, I don't remember that. I can still feel the thing where he hit me in the middle of my back. I can still feel that. And but when I landed on the concrete, I was just laying there. And I guess I passed out. I imagine, that angel though, I knew there was an angel that must have carried me, because they said my shoes were down 4 car lengths. I had slip-ons, and when that car hit me, that's how far I went. No, I didn't go 4 car lengths, but I was in front of his car, but my shoes were 3 or 4 cars down, and my car keys and my purse, I threw my purse. And but all I remember coming to was looking around, and there was a big fire truck and an ambulance and 2 or 3 police cars, and I thought, what's happened? I wasn't even cognizant of that. And so laying down, I apparently fell on my left side, and I was kind of semi-laying on it, and nobody would help me. There were probably 100 people that had come out of the grocery store just to see what happened, taking pictures on the day when I had no makeup, no hairdo. I thought, don't do that. No, but anyway, I just laid there, and nobody would come over, ask me, do you need anything? Do you need some water? Can we get anything for you? And nobody did that. And so I just laid there. And then finally, I could see out the corner of my eye, somebody from my left was walking towards me and then knelt down on the concrete right by me. And I was kind of astounded by that. And I looked over, and it was a gentleman who had the most phenomenal eyes I had ever seen. They were the color. He was an African American man, light skin, had his eyes were the color of avocados, good ones. That kind of
a greenish color to them.
Greenish, light, but a very penetrating green. And when he knelt down by me and he said, "Ma'am, can I do anything for you?" With the most compassionate voice, and it really got, his voice and his eyes got my attention, and I said, "Yes, sir, will you just help me? I just would like to sit up if I can." And so, as I sat up and I looked around everybody, and then he was there, and I said, "Well, thank you so much for taking time to come over and just help me out, because everybody else is just having a party doing their own thing." And I was just joking with him and asked him a little bit about him. And I said, "Well, just talk to me a little bit about yourself," which is something I do a lot with people. I want to get to know them. And he told me a little bit. I don't remember any of it, to be honest with you. But while he was talking, the sound of his voice, Robert, was not like any voice I'd ever heard. And because being a singer, I pay attention to people's speaking voice, imagining what they would sound like as a singer, because most people sing in the same register of their talking voice. And he kept talking, and I said, I started feeling the presence of the Lord, and especially when I would look in his eyes, and they were so penetrating, but very comforting and peaceful. And I was just just taking all this in and thinking to myself, well, and then his voice, when he would talk to me, it would just make me sit still and listen, And so finally, after sensing the presence of the Lord and seeing him, I've studied about angels in the past, and I've had a couple of experiences like that. And so finally, I just got bold and I said, "Sir, I've got to ask you a question. Will you tell me something?" And he said, "Certainly." I said, "Have you ever met Jesus? Do you know Jesus?" And that's when I knew who he was. He leaned into me and he said, "Yes, ma'am, I know him oh so well." And his voice kind of cracked when he said that. He said, "I know him very, very well." And that's when his eyes were just kind of like looking right through me, but it didn't scare me. And, we don't have those kind of experiences every day where people that we meet drastically, when they look at us and when they talk to us, demand our 100% attention. But at the same time, I was sitting there and I was thinking, I'm at peace. I don't know what's happened to my body, but everything's going to be all right. And so we talked just a little bit more, and I said, "Well, hold on just a second. I'll be right back. I've got to find my purse," because people would like to search through that big old bag of mine. They may think there's millions of dollars in there, but I think I got a $5 bill. But anyway, so I was looking for it, and somebody handed it back to me and then gave me my car keys. And I said, hurry, because I couldn't wait to get back to him. And he didn't tell me his name. And so when I turned around, I went, "Oh, well," and he was gone. And I looked around, I thought, well, maybe he just kind of walked off, but I couldn't find him. I couldn't see him. He was very tall, very light skinned, and he had on just a sports shirt and jeans, and I was shocked. Then I knew that was an angel, because I had been questioning about the white. When the car hit me and I screamed, right after I screamed, that's when that white enveloped me. And I thought, well, maybe I don't know if that happens to people when they pass out, but I don't care if they say it is. I knew there was something holy about it. In fact, can I read you a scripture that I found?
Yes.
That was really interesting to me. I know many people that are probably watching this, especially about miracles. They know some of the scriptures about protection, and we've all read and studied some, hopefully, Psalm 91, 11 and 12. And verse 11 says, "For he will give his angels special care over you, to accompany and defend and preserve you in all your ways." And I said, well, that's good news. But then I read verse 12, and I never had paid much attention to it. It said this. It went on to say, his angels, because he did say that at the top, for he will give his angels. And I wondered, why did he have to say his? Because there are other kinds of angels that are not the kind you want around you, that are from the enemy. But he says, his angels shall bear you up on their hands. And I, at that point, thought, well, that must have what got me gently down to that pavement, even though it was a hard impact on my back.
You're saying that as you reflected on the fact that you were hit hard enough, that if you came down and hit your head in the pavement, it probably would have killed you. And instead of that, all you came away with was some back pain. And so that angelic presence bore you up.
Absolutely. And I had just heard a week before a story about a young girl that was jogging, on the pavement next to the road. It didn't have a sidewalk, but she was that little bit of concrete that's right before the curb. And somebody hit her and killed her instantly. She was a senior in high school and head cheerleader and all that. And so I had that in my mind, and I thought, when I got up and I was sitting up, I just turned and made sure, my neck was okay. But what was amazing is I didn't feel anything. In the beginning, Robert, I didn't hurt hardly at all. And I have a friend that's a physical therapist named Patty Behrens, wonderful woman. And when they came to get me to get in the ambulance. And when I got in the ambulance, since I landed on my left side, my left thigh felt like it was on fire. It was a black bruise, the color of my boots and my slacks, and it was probably about 7 inches in width, and then wrapped all around my leg. And what I found out was, it was the doctor I went to said that I had scraped the muscle had been torn right here. And he said, don't worry, it'll grow back and then you won't have that anymore. Well, strangely enough, it never did grow back, so I have like a permanent dent in my left side. But the thing that got me was when my daughter, Joy Elizabeth, my spiritual daughter, showed up, she took me, I said, I need to go to an urgent care. So we went down the street to an urgent care, and I said, I've got to be x-rayed from head to toe. And I said, I don't feel anything right now, but I think it was the shock of the situation. And also my friend Patty Behrens that I mentioned had told me, she said, Stephanie, it might take you a while to feel any pain. And I said, why is that? She says, because your husband's in the ICU for a week in critical condition. She says, the body does something. She says, as a physical therapist, I see this a lot, that when something horrible has happened to somebody and they should be out of their mind and hurting all over, if they've got somebody that they love that's in any kind of pain at all, your pain will subside for a period until you know they're okay. And that happened because for about 6 months, I got a lawyer and everything, but it was kind of hard to say, well, just put me in therapy, I guess, or something. And But I said, you can wait a while if you want to because I seem okay. But the minute the doctor gave Wayne a good report and said, you're fine, you're going to be fine, you just have to manage this. There are some medicines that will help you. And I do believe Jesus is our healer, but I'm thankful for the meds that he can give us too. And I believe even with the medicine, only he heals us. He's the healer, but we need that sometimes.
And he was your healer. He was your healer. Stephanie,
Yes.
I think the people listening to you today have to be touched by the fact that you're an example of what the Bible means when it says people had met angels unaware.
Yeah.
And here, as you came into the awareness of this special person, this encourages all of us to pay attention to who's around us,
Absolutely.
what's happening, and I think to ask for angelic presence.
Absolutely.
Particularly when we need it.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much
I'll
for
tell you
sharing
one thing.
this.
When I went to the urgent care and got all those x-rays, not one bone was broken. Nothing was wrong. Except I did fall on my left side and I had a slap tear in my shoulder. And it had knocked the spine out a little bit. But to hit it with the force that I hit it, because I have looked at people and timed them that drive through exactly where this guy did. And everybody goes at least 20 to 25 miles an hour.
Yes.
And that's a big, so when you hit something going 25, the person that's pretty still, you multiply that times 2, and it's like a 50 mile hit.
Yes.
But it was just Robert, God is no respecter of persons, and I certainly don't deserve his precious ability to send an angel and help, but that's what Jesus does. He cares about us. He cares and he wants to prevent us. Then I thought, though, Robert, I know that I thought when I went home and I was fine, I was going to be just as ornery as I ever was, back to my old self. I thought about my brother who died in a car accident when he was 32. That was over 30 years ago. And I said, Lord, I know you're not a respecter of persons, but what about some people that don't have an intervention from an angel or a situation like that? And he said, to my heart, he said, you can't, well, let me back up a minute. He said, I will not let the things I don't understand rob me of the things I do understand.
Oh, that's a powerful statement.
I will not, because I didn't understand. That was my answer, his answer to my question about my brother dying. And I'm sure you've gone through things like that too, and we wonder why didn't you rescue him? Why didn't you take care of this situation? But as you believe and as I believe, I know he's a healer. And I know he's looking after us. And so I just settled it with that when the Lord said, he said, you have to feel in your heart, I will not let the things that I don't understand, like why did so-and-so die and why did this other person live? And they weren't even serving the Lord, and yet there's a Christian over here who died. But if you believe that Jesus is the Redeemer of all things, first of all, our salvation, to redeem us from hell, and to make us righteous by his blood, and bear what he went through for us, he's a good God. And I begin to think more and more about things that Oral Roberts used to say, and I had forgotten about it. It's been 45 years since I was at ORU. But I remember when he would stand up and say, expect a miracle. And somehow, as I began to live my own life, I kind of forgot that. Until several years before this happened, there was an awakening in my heart that the Lord corrects me when I talk to him, and then it's not like, Stephanie, I can just hear it in my heart, his voice. And I'm finding out more and more that if we'll be better listeners in our life, not just to people, but just have more quiet, He says, my sheep hear my voice, and anything we ask him, he'll speak to us.
Well, and I think that the most powerful word we could say to our listeners today is to pay attention, to know it's there, to reach out and receive it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Oh,
What a
so
blessing.
welcome.
Thank you so much. I hope you found what you just saw to be inspirational, to be encouragement to you. And I'd like to hear from you. Please write me at Miracles Never Cease, Box 2, Bethany, Oklahoma, 73008.